Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Sens Nation podcast. It is your go-to home for all things Senators, proudly brought to you by Jim K. Ford Celebrate and Dunrobin Distilleries. Got a ton of new listeners joining, so I guess that's thanks to the YouTube channel and the fact we're in the midst of a playoff run, so welcome aboard. Today, we're talking about back to the Capitol and back to life for the Ottawa Senators. They shut out the Leafs 4-0 in Game 5 in Toronto, and the big guns showed up 3 points apiece for Tim Stützle and Brady Tkachuk. Linus Ulmark was excellent. Dylan Cozens with a short-handed dagger. Oh, it was all good, and we are expecting an absolutely bonkers arena at Scotiabank Place on Thursday night for Game 6. It's Steve Warren along with the coach, Gregg Kennedy. Gregg, how are you?
I'm good, Steve. That was a great game, wasn't it? I was saying to somebody today, if you're not a fan of either of those teams, like if you're not really emotionally invested, it was probably a pretty boring hockey game, right? But if you're a fan of the Senators, it was really good. If you're a fan of the Leafs, it was really bad, and that's fine by me. I'm good with it.
A great road game, really. I mean, you looked at the first period, and it's hard to say. I thought the Sens didn't look outmatched at all. I thought they were hanging in there and playing good defense. And then you see the shot count, you're going, oh, wow, that didn't seem like a 3-shot period, but here we are. But lots of opportunities that didn't end up being shots. Drake Batherson had a couple of 5-alarm chances. I was joking off the air with you. It seems like he's being worked over by somebody with a Drake Batherson voodoo doll, sticking the pins in and stuff. First it was the penalties, and now it's missed scoring opportunities. Surely some better days ahead for our third man in. But I think the game story was Linus Ulmark with the shutout, like high 20s in saves, and a 4-0 victory for the Senators. I think, to me, he was just stepping up the way he did and looking so calm in the crease. I think he was the biggest difference in game number 5. What do you think?
I would agree. Yeah, I mean, we talked before the game that the cliches of they need to get the first goal, they got to win the special teams battles, but the other one was, and no cliche at all, they needed to have a real good night for the goaltender, and they did. This is a guy who went, 13-3-1 down the stretch. Like, he's the go-to guy, and whether he admits it or not, he wasn't very good in Game 1. Despite low-scoring games in 2 and 3, I don't think he was great. Maybe he didn't have to be, but it was nice to see him step up and just say, I got this one, fellas. In Game 5, it seemed like nothing was going to get past him in Game 5, especially down low. Like, I really thought he did a great job. The pad saves and the kickouts and all the down low stuff, quick and agile. But at the same time, he's always so calm and cool. And it's the economy of motion. We've talked about it all along, all year. He's in the right place at the right time and just stop the pucks you're supposed to stop. And he had a really good game. It's a rock. It helps the rest of the team too, right?
Yeah, there's a calmness, there's a poise, and just being in the right places, playing the angles well. It's not, you sometimes think Dominik Hasek when you think great goalies and all these acrobatic saves. That's really the exception rather than the norm. It's about being in the right spot, using your big body, and making life hell for opposing shooters. There are going to be nights, though, when you're in the right spot and the other team's going to pick you apart. It just happens sometimes, and I think that happened in Game 1. Linus Ulmark wasn't that bad. They were going in on him. But it was amazing to hear on social media the amount of Sens fans who were just raging. Here we are, goalie graveyard again. This guy can't stop anything. And then all of a sudden, everybody's in love with him again after game number 4. And Linus Ulmark earlier this season, in conversation with the media, it was kind of cryptic the way he presented it, but he talked about the media and, sometimes writing some things that aren't true. So there's clearly a bit of a burr in the saddle of Linus Ulmark when it comes to the media. And so when I think it was Mark Masters after game number 5 in Toronto asked about, people saying, that maybe, you weren't having your best series, Linus Ulmark once again took the media to task. Here's that clip.
I don't know. Just take it what it is. I don't really read media nowadays. Something that I learned throughout my career as well, that it doesn't really matter what you guys say or anything like that. It's all about what's being said in the locker room and what we need to be doing. And there's always going to be people doubting you. There's always going to be people that have your back. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of stay away from it. And like I said before, like you just have to focus on one game at a time. Now we won this one. We're going back to Ottawa, but we can't be satisfied with the way that we played this tonight. We can enjoy that we had the results with us tonight. Then there's a new game. It's game 6. So we got to do it all over again.
Yeah, clearly has a thing with the media and isn't really, listening into that, which is a good thing. And seems like a focused dude, a well-dressed, focused dude, Greg.
I wonder if he knew his collar was hanging out. He probably wouldn't like a do-over on that one. But yeah, I mean,
Right.
But again, he's a professional. He's a former Vezina winner. He's the number one goalie of this team. He's a veteran. He's a savvy guy. He's not going to fall into any of these traps. There are certain questions that get asked of players, and I understand that we like to have players be a little more colorful and give us a little more. But if you ask a question of a goaltender like that, and you're expecting him to say, well, I really sucked in game 1. Man, I was terrible giving up bad goals, and you guys roasted me, and the fans are all over me, and you're all right, I was terrible. Like, he's not going to say that, even if he's really thinking it. And I doubt he was at all. I honestly believe that he has a strong mindset, mentally tough, and he understands that it's one game at a time. Later on in that same interview, he answered a question like, we could lose 1-0 and we can lose 6-2. It's still a loss. It's still only a 1 in the overall series losses, and that's all that matters. And in that sense, he's right. So here he is. He's bounced back, if you want to call it a bounce back, or he's just doing his thing and having better results. However you want to look at it, he stood up in game 5 and deserves kudos for that.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I'd agree with your notion about, what are you expecting the guy to say? When you ask him about the media being critical of him in the past, this is a veteran goalie in the league now. He's been through all the wars, and he knows a thing or two about the position more than anybody in the media. And so what do we expect from him? Is he going to say, oh, yeah, well, the media, yeah, they made a good point there, and I should probably listen more to them because they know what's going on. No, it's not going to be like that. But terrific game for Linus Ulmark, and on the other side of the coin, Anthony Stolarz proving to be a mere mortal. When you think about I was looking back to his season, and so he had an injury portion of the season, but since February, he's gone on a run that's been quite streaky. He went, I think it was something like 6-0, then 0-4-1, then 11-0, and now he's 0-2. So Sens fans are certainly hoping that maybe he can put together a 4-game slide, the old reverse sweep going. The Sens are halfway to history. But Stolarz, he gave us some early sort of thoughts that maybe, he wasn't going to be this Curtis Joseph, kind of a player that's inside the Sens' heads. We talk Battle of Ontario history. He fought the puck a little bit in early games. He's kind of giving you that suggestion that, he played great. Don't get me wrong, and his numbers were sterling, but maybe could be had.
Well, I think that thought was always in everyone's mind, wasn't it? That Stolarz could be had. A very little, short, small resume, like didn't start last year. Yeah, he won a Stanley Cup in Florida, but didn't start a game in the playoffs. I don't even know how many minutes he played. Did he even play at all?
I think they gave him a game right at the end.
Did they? Okay. But it
just came into the game when they had. I think they were teeing off on Edmonton, I think.
Yeah, I was shocked to hear the guys on TV talking about, do you start Joseph Woll? Like, really? You think that the Leafs are entertaining the idea of giving Joseph Woll the next game? Like, that's absurd. Nobody but Anthony Stolarz is going to play Game 6, and probably only Stolarz will play Game 7 as well. The worst thing you could do from a Maple Leaf perspective is suddenly give the impression that you're maybe panicking a little if you start making changes now. And I just found it hard to believe that the number of things I've read and the number of talking heads I've seen and heard talking about maybe making a goaltending change at Toronto. That's absurd. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, totally agree. Dylan Cozens was a big storyline in this one. Adam Gaudette. And before you even ask you about the goal, the shorthanded goal that was really, I don't want to call it insurance, but it ended up being the dagger in a 4-0 victory. Toronto was pushing, and they get a shorthanded goal after a terrible penalty by Ridley Gregg. But what did you think of when Ridley Gregg had the penalty on Mitch Marner? He goes off, so that's one of their top penalty killers. And they had on the ice Chabot, Cozens, and Gaudette in an elimination game in the playoffs in the third period when you're nursing a 1-goal lead. I found that to be a very surprising penalty kill deployment. What about you?
I felt the exact same way. I looked at it and said, there's been times when Gaudette has taken shifts here and there, sprinkled in D-zone starts, because I guess he's okay as a centerman, as a secondary guy. But on the PK, that's where like a Matthew Highmore is missing, right? He's the extra guy. Like if you got Ridley Gregg in the box, who steps in to be your next penalty killer in line? I was quite surprised to see that it was Gaudette. And then to be with Cozens too was weird. Like you're starting a PK, you know who the 5 guys are going to be on the power play. You're expecting Pinto for sure. Giroux and Pinto. I don't know. It was kind of strange to see those 3 on the ice. Not as strange as the pass decision that who was it now? Nylander's decision to make that pass to the point was terrible. But I agree with you. I was surprised to see Gaudette and Cozens on the ice to kill a penalty.
What an amazing play by Gaudette to sort of slide over and grab that puck. And he had a big lead on Dylan Cozens, but Gaudette had and we'll hear from Cozens in a moment about this, but he had the wherewithal to kind of wait for Cozens. You could see that he was beating his man and jumping up into the rush, but needed some time to get there. And I thought Gaudette made a great takeaway, some great patience, and a great pass for what I think is right now the most important goal this team has scored this season. But Cozens is sort of the same. I mean, Travis Green insisted that he was the next guy up when Ridley Gregg goes down, but he was asked about a little shorthanded kill action by the media, and he said, yeah, he's pretty sure that was his first action in a shorthanded situation of these playoffs.
It might have been. I think it was. I might have had one in the first game. I'm not sure, but yeah, that was either my first or second for sure.
And if you can, just walk us through that whole play and where it started in your own.
Yeah, they made a play behind the net, and I just tried to, jump them, and God's made a great read and picked it off, and it was good poise by him to let me get up the ice, and I made a great pass, and I just shot it, and so it's a great play by God's.
So there is Dylan Cozens in conversation with the media, that courtesy of the Sens YouTube channel. And the reason that he's on the ice in the penalty kill, as mentioned, is because Ridley Gregg, some sort of WWE move on Mitch Marner in the neutral zone. Like most people were saying, what was that, a tackle or something? It was like, okay, he lost his stick and his arm got free, and so it ended up looking like a tackle, and Marner's going in the other direction. I don't think he intended to just say, screw it, I'm going to tackle this guy. But just, you can't do that in the neutral zone. There was no danger on the play, and that's what bothered me most about it. It all bothered me, but it just was not a very wise decision by Gregg, who at that point was playing awesome that night.
It's a poor decision, period. And he does make them more often than the rest of the guys on the team, I think, right? He probably leads this team in poor decisions that lead to penalties. It's going to come with maturity. It's going to come with age. Eventually he'll learn. He's usually pretty good at picking his spots and being that agitator type guy, but that one was really bad. Surprisingly bad.
When we talked about the future of Ridley Gregg over the last year or two, we all like the guy, and I'm really liking the way he's stepping up and he's sticking his nose in all the dirty areas. But I continue to be of the belief that does he have the body size to stay healthy, playing the style that he does? Like, he really doesn't care. Like, he plays with full reckless abandon out there, and you love him for it. But you could tell in the last game he got, not in game five, but in game 4, he was up against the end boards, and he had to leave, went down the tunnel for a minute. He's been missing practices. He's clearly not right. And so love that he's signed up and got a 3-year contract that now kicks in the fall. I like the way he's evolving as a player. I think his offense is going to continue to grow. but that's always in the back of my head a little bit. Exactly what kind of longevity will this guy? Is this going to be a player that will eventually become a Josh Norris type simply because of the way he plays?
He's slight, right? Like and he's light. He needs to be heavier. His upper body doesn't look big. His big hockey players have big butts and big thighs and big calves, and he doesn't have it in the legs. Like he's just not big low and he's not big high. He needs to find a way. Maybe he needs to train with Zetterlund in the summer. Like Zetterlund's probably about the same height, right? But Zetterlund is much heavier, stockier, stronger looking, like bull guy. You know, he's just a totally different body shape. And if you want to play the type of game that Ridley Gregg's playing, I think you need to get a little heavier because guys go after you, right? Like it's one thing to be the sneaky guy who catches people off guard and hits them and hits everybody in the forecheck, but then he does things that lead to people wanting to get back at him. It leads to people wanting to hit him hard and hurt him. And if he's going to be a slight guy, a light guy, it's going to be a tough sledding for him moving forward if he doesn't get bigger eventually.
What do you suppose the mentality is right now of Toronto's core four or their big five or whatever you want to say? These guys have been, I mean, we'll leave Tavares out of it. He missed a few of them, but this is you think about Nylander, Riley, Matthews. Have I mentioned Marner in there? I'm losing my mind here. Sorry about that. You know the guys I'm talking about. They've had a lot of failure in the playoffs, and now they had a 3-0 lead, and they've let the Senators up off the mat. It's 3-2. What is the mentality of the Toronto Maple Leafs dressing room right now?
I think they're still fairly confident, and if I were them, I would be confident. I'd be thinking, yeah, we're in the right place. We're okay. You know, we're still up 3-2. We're looking good. I think that if there are doubts, the doubts come when they're home alone. I don't doubt that when Mitch Marner's sitting at home alone on an off day on the couch, it doesn't maybe creep into his mind like, oh my God, here we go again, or Austin Matthews, as you mentioned, or William Nylander. I don't think he has any, probably doesn't even know what the score of the series is. He's just a happy-go-lucky guy, in my opinion, anyway. Like, I don't know any of these guys personally, but I can see a Mitch Marner maybe when he's alone, and Austin Matthews maybe when he's alone. I think the one plus that the Leafs have in all this is that through all those losses over the years, there's always a different supporting cast. Like we always talk about the core four, and you can add Riley to it. And, you know, there's this core group that always seems to choke, but the supporting cast is always different. And for the first time in a long time, the supporting cast here is really good as far as mental preparedness goes, as far as toughness goes, physicality, leadership. Like Ryan O'Reilly was great, but it was only really Ryan O'Reilly who came in. There wasn't enough other guys. I think that Tanev, and especially Tanev, Lawton, you know, these are guys who are not going to let the Leafs, oh, woe is me, look out, we're going to choke. He's not going to allow that to happen, these guys, especially Chris Tanev. These guys' supporting cast are going to be much better at mentally getting these guys going and fired up and being positive about things moving forward for them.
See, what you're doing right now, I'm wondering if that's maybe the secret sauce in the superstition department. Because I'm old enough to have been covering this team back on TSN 1200 in the 0 for 4 years in the early parts of the Battle of Ontario. 25 years ago that started. And we did it all. You know, we talked about superstition. We did playoff songs. We did blue team elimination watches. I haven't done any of that. In fact, I've gone the other direction, like you just did, and heaped a bit of praise on the Leafs for all the changes they made. So maybe that's the secret, is to not bury the Leafs. I come to praise the Leafs, not bury them. Maybe that's the key. Maybe we've stumbled on something. No red cords. I have done buffalo chicken wings the last 2 nights. How about that?
Very nice.
Could be a key. Nice. That could be a key. And I've always observed the ass groove rule. Work with the same cushion, which is all worked in. Can't mess with that. So I think I'm doing my part, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that is it praise, or is it just, you know, respect? It's a little bit. I mean, we're respecting the opposition, and that you should always do that. Like, even if you're expected to win in a landslide, you still have to show proper respect. And I don't think it's foolish. I don't think it shows weakness to recognize the strength of your opposition. I've never believed that. If the other team is better than you, it's okay for you to kind of sort of maybe admit it in some ways. Grasp that, take that in, understand that, and that helps you prepare even more. I'm talking as a coach here. Like, what do I need to do to make my team better so my team can maybe win against a far superior opponent? I first need to embrace the fact that, you know what, they're pretty good. There are things that they do better than me or us as a team. And I think that's just showing respect. And in a sense, that is what tactical preparation is all about. You figure out what they do well and you try to stop it. You figure out what they don't do well and you try to take advantage of it. And that's what happens in the playoffs. And we're seeing that in this series.
Well, that's all sage advice for coaches and players, but I'm neither of those things in this series. So I will sit back and, I think what I'll do is I'll quietly respect and loudly chuckle when I need to. The Schadenfreude effect, I guess, is what that's called. Brady Tkachuk, we got to get to him. Kind of called his shot. After Game 4 on Saturday night in Ottawa, he's skating off the ice, and he's pointing at the ice and saying, we'll be back, kind of shouting at the fans, letting them know that they're coming back for Game 6, and he was bang on. And what's more, he had a goal and 2 helpers, as did Tim Stützle. Linus Ulmark had the shutout. So we had talked about this during the series in that, right now, the Leafs goalie and the Leafs best players, they're the ones who are stepping up. And now, turnabout is fair play. Sens had their key guys going, some secondary scoring. The goaltender was going. And so that all bodes extremely well. But Kachuk he is very pumped about Game 6. Get a load of his comments after the game on Tuesday night. This is Kachuk in conversation with the media about the hype machine that he's expecting back in Ottawa.
Well, I expect pure insanity, that's for sure. But no, they know how important they are. They know how much juice they give us and how we just want to represent them well. And when they're buzzing like that, it's can't really describe yet how it feels for me. And how it feels for this whole group and just the amount of energy we get off that.
So there is Sens captain Brady Tkachuk in conversation with the media, that courtesy of the Sens YouTube channel. And you can tell he is jacked up. Physically, though, is he right? I mean, there are moments in the game. There was one point where Stützle fed him in the high slot, and Kachuk got a great scoring chance. I think it was a save or it got blocked or something. But then Stützle fell and kind of caught his skate on the way by, kind of pulling his leg away a bit, and it just looked like he was wincing after that. I think I think Kachuk with every stride is hurting a little more. What about you?
Oh yeah, he's not 100%, and we know that. And I doubt that there's very many players on either team that are 100%. But he perseveres, right? He works his way through it. It's what you expect. It's a good old hockey player. You'd think he was a Canadian prairie boy, right? He's tough. He's going to play the games no matter what. And he's not going to say a word. He's not going to complain. He's going to do his best to make sure he doesn't show that he's hurting. But he's not 100%. That's clear. Anyone can see that.
Yeah, no question about it. Game 6 is going to be absolutely fantastic. Did you note at the end of the Leaf game, and this is interesting because I was listening to my colleague at the Hockey News, Graham Nichols, and he's talking about you could almost feel the tension in the building in Toronto from the start of the game. Like not just the booze at the end, but even before it started, there was, he said, compared to Game 1 where everybody was going bonkers, in this one everybody just seemed, you could almost palpably feel the tension in the air. And by the end, there was booing, like you mentioned. And I was watching the ESPN feed at a buddy's house. And I'm not a very good winker, am I? But at the end, they were basically saying that the Leaf fans have quit on this team. There's 3 minutes still left. Because remember, they pulled the goalie early. And they said at that point they were down 3-0. and they said, look at the fans streaming out of this place. Leaf fans have just quit on this game. And, well, you know, I got to admit, I got kind of a kick out of that. But what a difference in the buildings. You know, this tense, ornery Toronto building, and then back to Ottawa where everybody is excited about the possibilities. They're only 50% of the way there, but I think that it's just such a different headspace now for Sens fans in that, you know, yeah, there's still a chance they might not win the series. Obviously, they're only halfway there. They're down by a game in the series, granted, but I feel like it's different now because the Sens fans have had a lot of fun now instead of that concept of maybe losing 4 straight and how miserable that would have been. This has been a fun series for Sens fans, no matter what happens, but now sky's the limit on possibilities.
Ready for the big game? Your home should be too. With Celebrate Lights, you can show your team spirit and light up every victory. Sync your lights to your team's colors and let the whole neighborhood know when they score. Match your team's colors, celebrate every win, and take the excitement to the next level. Celebrate permanent holiday lighting, the easiest way to set the stage for unforgettable moments.
Well, it's bonus, like whatever phrase you want to use, playing with house money, right? They're in a series. They're playing against the Leafs. It's going to be great. The fans are going to love it. And even after you lose 3 games, you really play with house money now. Like you weren't expected to beat them to begin with, and now you lost 3. Now you're really not expected to beat them, and they come out and win 2. It's going to be a zoo. It wasn't just the booing, like you said. It was almost silent. It was eerily silent. Like you could hear the players on the ice talking. Woo! You could hear them hooting and hollering after they were scored the empty net. Like it was that quiet in the building. And I don't know whether that's a reflection of the economic situation of Leaf fans, or it's just they don't give a damn. You know, it was half empty by the end of the game. It'll be interesting here in Ottawa. I was thinking about this today, like how many Leaf fans would spend the money to try to buy tickets and go to a game in Ottawa now, right? Because the Leafs may very well clinch, who knows? But it's a weeknight. Are you going to drive up to Ottawa to see a hockey game and then have to drive home, go to work the next day? How expensive the tickets are, like the face value in the 300 levels is $300 something. So it's not cheap to get into a game here as the series moves on. But after our last show, we talked about, can we get a red zone? Can we get an outdoor viewing thing? They announced it today, Steve. Did you hear about that? There's going to be a viewing party at the rink, mind you. But they're doing a viewing party. $5 beer and $2 hot dogs or something, I heard. While supplies last. So that'll be pretty cool. Finally, an outdoor viewing party for Sens fans.
Yeah, they got Sens Mile going as well, which is also pretty cool based on some of the views I saw last night. So, so asked and answered. We got some stuff happening now. That's a good thing. But fine. I mean, it just, the one thing I wanted to say was Game 6 is going to be exciting, but I'm really happy that the team has been able to go through the learning process here. Like a 4-game sweep, I feel like that wouldn't have taught them much, but I feel like that if nothing else, they've really got a big old learning curve happening now in terms of what it takes. You know, and I think that's going to serve them well next year in the regular season and into the playoffs. But now, the best part of it is if you can have a learning experience and win, then that is chef's kiss stuff. So I'm jacked that it wasn't a 4-game sweep, and excited for the possibilities ahead. But with that, we shall take our leave. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish.
No, I was going to say, if it goes to 7 and you lose in Game 7, yeah, it sucks, but that's a big learning curve too, right? That's oh my God, next year we're not going to lose game 1, 2, 3. Like next year we're going to play harder right off the bat or whatever. Like the message you'll get out of that. And then the other plus, I don't know many people have done this, from an ownership standpoint, if you're going to lose in the first round, you maximized home gate. You got the maximum number of home games in round one. You made your coin here in getting 3 games at home in the first round. So Andlauer's happy, thrilled.
Michael Andlauer. Yeah.
Michael, yeah, you're the guy.
Yeah. He's, I love watching him celebrate goals up in the press box. It's great. That will wrap up this episode, playoff episode of the Sens Nation podcast. We are jacked about game number 6 for sure. Big thanks to Jim K. Ford and Celebrate, along with Dunrobin Distilleries, and game 6 Thursday night in Ottawa. And if you enjoyed the show, by the way, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. For the coach, Greg Kennedy, I'm Steve Warren. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you in our next show.